Hello, General. Welcome to the ICP Strategic Command System. Using this system, you'll be in a position to give orders to your commanders and your men, and to visualize the development of the conflict perfectly in real time. First, you're going to learn how to use the visualization and navigation system. To move the camera on the battlefield, use the left analog stick. Up to go perfect. To change the direction of the camera, that is, to turn it, use the right analog stick. OK. To change the angle of the camera, use the right analog stick. Up to move away from the ground, down, very good. To zoom in, press the X button while holding the R2 button pressed down. Exactly. During battles, messages are displayed in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen to give you information about important events on the ground. To move the camera to the last point where something important happened, press the triangle button while keeping the R2 button pressed down. When you control several bases, you'll need to move regularly from one to another. To move the camera through the bases you possess, press the triangle button. You can also move the camera around quickly on the battlefield by using the radar minimap in the top right-hand corner of the screen. This shows the extent of the zone covered by the visualization and command system. A trapezoid represents your current visual field. If you change the camera settings, the trapezoid adjusts itself immediately. Press the up directional button while keeping the R1 button pressed down to move the cursor on the minimap. From now on, you can move the camera using the minimap. Press on the square button to move the camera to the point the cursor is directed at. If you keep the square button pressed down and use the left analog stick, the camera will follow the movements of the analog stick on the minimap. If you find that the radar minimap is too small, you can activate the strategic map by pressing the R1 button again and pressing the up directional button. The strategic map is a kind of super mini-map. It's bigger and more detailed, but it still works in a similar way. On it, you can see buildings, infantry, and vehicles, which camp they belong to, their direction, and even their destination. So it's a very useful tool. To return to the strategic map or the mini-map in normal mode, press the down directional button while keeping the R1 button pressed down, or press on the circle button only. You can record up to 4 different camera positions. Press the L2 button and press simultaneously on one of the 4 directional buttons, up, down, left, or right, to save a camera position. To press the camera in one of the previously saved positions, press the L1 button and press simultaneously on the directional button, which was used to define the camera position to save. If you get disoriented, simply press L3 button or R3 button to reset the camera with the original direction and angle parameters. Now that you've familiarized yourself with the navigation and visualization system, let's move on to the command interface. Here's a group of ICP combat units ready to obey you. There are some Marines and a Jeep. Before giving them orders, you should first select them. You can use the 4 directional buttons to review the units present on screen. Each press on one of these 4 buttons allows you to position the cursor on the nearest unit in the direction you've chosen to go. When the cursor is positioned on a unit, pressing once on the X button selects the unit that's being pointed at. The system's automatically in additive mode, so if you've already selected one or more units, pressing once on the X button adds the unit indicated by the cursor to the current selection. When the cursor is positioned on a unit, pressing once on the X button selects the unit that's being pointed at. The system's automatically in additive mode, so if you've already selected one or more units, pressing once on the X button, perfect! Pressing once on the circle button cancels the current selection. OK. Pressing once on the square button selects all the units that are visible on screen. Press the R2 button and the square button simultaneously to make the camera follow the movements of the selected units automatically. Press on the circle button to go back to the standard camera mode. To create a group with the selected units, press simultaneously on the L2 button and one of the four following buttons: X button, circle button, square button, or triangle button. To create a group with the selected units, press simultaneously on the L2 button